I see that we are 2 minutes late, so we can start. And if you agree, I can share my screen. Could you please confirm that you see it correctly? Thank you. So we are at the second seminar organized by EUreka3D project, and in a very welcome collaboration with the ICA. The title of the seminar of today is Boosting 3D Digitization for Research and Reuse of Cultural Heritage Collections. As you know, 3D digitization became a very priority matter, also in consequence of the recommendation exchanged between the Council and the European Commission. The series of a webinar co-organized by EUreka3D project and ICA, the International Council on Archives, is part of a collaboration that is targeting the cultural heritage sector with the scope of improving the capacity of the sector. The scope is to help the cultural heritage institutions in digital transformation, with the focus on 3D in particular, by sharing good practices, real-life experiences, examples of the digitization of cultural collections, and the resources that are available to support high-quality 2D and 3D digitization. This series of a webinar is co-organized, as I told you, by EUreka3D project. That is a project supported by the European Commission in the frame of the Digital Europe program and the International Council on Archives. The program of today is to provide you a brief introduction about EUreka3D that I will deliver you. Then I will pass the floor to Marinos Ioannides, professor at Cyprus University of Technology, to tell us about the VIGIE study, a study commissioned by the European Commission in 2020 on digitization, 3D digitization of tangible heritage. And we will conclude with the question and answer and the debate session moderated by John Balean from Topfoto, a very acknowledged picture library in the UK, member of a Photoconsortium. The recording will be published, and you can find the recording of the previous webinar on digitization guidelines on our website. Concerning the format of the webinar, the participants' camera and the microphone are not available, but you can ask your questions on the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. You can also use the chat of Zoom, to share comments, and you can write to us at any time at the info@eureka3d.eu, and we will be happy to reply to your questions. A post-event survey with a small quiz will be proposed to you at the end of the seminar, and we thank you in advance for your participation. Well, coming to EUreka3D. EUreka3D is a project, and the full title is Implementing a Data Cloud and Services in the Data Space for Cultural Heritage. The data space, as you know, is a new initiative of the European Commission to create a space of shared data on several disciplines, among which the cultural heritage. In concerning the scenario for the 3D, we have to consider that the recent recommendation from the European Commission demands for cultural heritage institutions to play, to invest in digitization, especially not limited to digitization of built heritage, but also looking at digitization of heritage at risk. The digitized collections are expected to be made available online for different kinds of use and reuse, among which research, the use and reuse in the creative industry, education, tourism, and of course, the benefit for the general public, for amateurs. To this regard, we consider Europeana as an important flagship of the European Union to provide online visibility to the digitized collections. As you know, Europeana is a register of all the digitized cultural heritage collections that are produced by cultural heritage institutions in Europe, with the tens of millions of records already available online. But in order to achieve the objectives of accessibility and reuse of digital cultural heritage, we need capacity building, standards, guidelines, and resources for metadata, data creation, management, and sharing. And this is where these seminars are focused. EUreka3D is a project, as I mentioned to you. It's a project co-funded by the Digital Europe program. It started on the 1st of January 2023. It lasts 2 years until the end of 2024. So we are in the middle of the project. And the focus is to support the digital transformation of the cultural heritage sector with a specific focus on 3D, not limiting to 3D, but with a focus on 3D. Why a focus on 3D? Because 3D implies new elements in terms of standardization, formats, metadata creation, description of the technology adopted to produce the 3D, called metadata, and you will hear more about these matters in the keynote from Marinos. A wide program of capacity building is implemented in EUreka3D, that provides e-services, computing, and storage resources in the frame of a data hub offered to cultural heritage institutions. We are also aggregating new collections, everything exposed and published on Europeana. You can have further information about EUreka3D on the website of the project, on eureka3d.eu, and on the blog that is hosted by digitalculture.eu, a man that is about the encounter between digital technologies and culture and cultural heritage. During the 24 months, we have two main activities. One is to set up the pilot that I mentioned before, to provide access to European computing and storage resources, to provide the methods for authorization and authentication with different levels of interaction, to provide the visualization tools that is a key question for 3D contents, and to publish the services on the European Open Science Cloud, the so-called EOSC portal. The second main objective of EUreka3D is to build capacity. implementing a 3D digitization of objects ex novo, assessing quality of existing 3D contents, 3D collections, against the VIGIE study, the study that will be presented by Marinos just after my introduction, to run an impact assessment. What do we achieve? Which are the benefits of investing in 3D digitization? Where this can produce an impact for the cultural heritage sector and society at a wider dimension, integrating data, metadata, and paradata in the Europeana, and to run a program of events in presence and online, out of which the seminar of today is a part. You can find more information, as I mentioned you, online on the EUreka3D program website that you see on the left side of the screen, and on the blog, the window that is open on Digital Meets Culture that hosts the blog of EUreka3D that you see on the right side of the screen, and on the social network, on Instagram, LinkedIn, the ex-Twitter, now ex portal, and on YouTube. The recording of today will be published on YouTube. And now I'm happy to leave the floor to Marinos for the real core of the seminar of today. Please do not hesitate to contact us, and I am also personally available to reply any question you should have. Thank you very much, and keep interested in the speech of Marinos. Thank you, Marinos. The floor is yours.
Good. Good evening, Asia. Good afternoon, Europe. Good morning, America. From the beautiful island of Aphrodite, as we say it in Greek, and Venus, as it is named by the Romans. It is the island of beauty and love, a part of the paradise on this planet. So I will start with our name and the meaning of the day, because it's a special day today, and how this what it will be presented, or this what we are doing with the EUreka3D, or our work here at the UNESCO chair on digital cultural heritage, is linked together with this what is going to be presented. So, Mnemosyne, the mother of the 9 muses, the 10 ladies in the ancient time of the Greek mythology, were in charge to keep, to preserve the memory of the ancient Greeks. They had also a special temple named museum. Museum, a space and a word which is famous around the world, and to keep it short, a space of knowledge, a space where we collect and we bring together the knowledge of the past, a part of the memory of the past. But let's move and let's see. 10th of November, World Science Day for Peace and Development. And the theme of this year is Building Trust in Science. Starting with that title and this theme, then we have to say that it's something extremely important. The role of science in society. The day underscores the relevance of science in our everyday life, It aims to connect science with society, to keep people informed about scientific developments. Trust in science is essential for solving global challenges. Antonella mentioned challenges. We have the climate change challenges. We have wars. Do we learn something from the past? Trust affects how scientists work and how society perceives science. But if we talk about the past, when mathematics, when physics, when chemistry have been invented, what we learned out of that, and what we use and we are reusing out of it, enhancing trust in science, support science-based policy, it's extremely important, and their application. And of course, digital cultural heritage, it's an integral component for enhancing trust in science by facilitating the research, preservation, protection, ladies and gentlemen, and authentic documentation of cultural heritage knowledge for academic and public engagement. All this together, it comes now. Why do we digitize or document the past? And there are some reasons, because we want to protect it, preserve, conserve, to have it accessible 24/7, knowledge transfer, longevity, identity, and values. And knowledge transfer is, let's learn something from the past and improve the future. So, and this is here the time now. And here is where moving from the shadows of conflict, and we are in Cyprus, we are in Europe, and we are facing two of the most important wars currently ongoing here. Do we learn something for the past to improve the future, actually? Protecting the heritage. Digitization preserves heritage. Digital preservation safeguards our history and culture. Cultural identity, it's extremely important, and national treasures. Protecting heritage is vital for preserving our unique culture and national treasures, connecting with our roots, our identity, our DNA, yeah, where are we coming from, and what is the knowledge, what is the memory available. Safeguarding heritage grants future generations access to inspiration and knowledge, and of course, cultural diversity and belonging. The Treaty of the European Union, it's an EU-funded project. It's co-funded by the European Union. And here is extremely important to mention something. It is something behind. It is because drawing inspiration from the cultural, religious, and humanist inheritance of Europe, from which have developed the universal values of the inviolable and inalienable rights of the human person, freedom, democracy, equality, and the rule of law, and recalling the historic importance of the ending of the division of the European continent and the need to create firm bases for the construction of the future Europe. This is in the first articles of the Treaty of the European Union. In the Treaty of the European Union, Article 165, ladies and gentlemen, it's clearly stated, because it is so unique, this is what it binds these 27 countries together, which is the cultural, religious, and humanist heritage, yeah? This, we need to undertake whatever is possible to protect, to preserve for the generations to come. So it's a duty. It's the actual, how do we say? It's not only a contractual obligation within an EU project. It's a duty to our grandparents to do what? To preserve, to keep their memory alive. Mnemosini, don't forget, yeah? Museums and all this. So for a future of knowledge, peace, and wisdom. And here is, I will just only present the bullet points here and fly over this slide. Coming to the end, better world. Preserving heritage leads to a better world based on knowledge, peace, and wisdom. Okay? And now, boosting 3D digitization. tangible. We are talking about objects and about buildings. Pay attention. Objects and buildings. Site for research and reuse of cultural heritage collections. I'm not talking about monuments. I'm not talking about artifacts. I'm talking about buildings. A monument is when we embed in the building the memory, the story, the knowledge. And then we don't have only the digital twin, but we create the memory twin. Therefore, we need, as it has been mentioned at the beginning from our coordinator, Antonella, the paradata, the metadata, the data. Now, those that we need to create the knowledge. The case of the Lambusa fishing vessel, the oldest fishing vessel in Cyprus. And this is what I'm going to present to you just to illustrate how important it is to keep paradata and metadata. And if this study, the VIGIE, as we say, 2020/654, that's the shortcut of the study, which is funded by the European Commission. It's talking for the first time clearly how important is to keep paradata and metadata, and not just only the geometry, the 3D digital records. So, and here is where we start now. Knowledge is information and data. Information is paradata and metadata. Keeping that in mind, paradata, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So paradata and metadata will have the EU VIGIE study. So now, metadata at Europeana data model. Is this what we know? This is what Europeana, the European Union digital library has. Is more or less the collection of the summary, or this, what it is coming from the museums, from the libraries, from the archives, from the galleries, and so on, together by using a different type of standards like the LIDO, which is coming from the ICOM, the International Council of Museums, CIDOC, the Scientific Committee of ICOM, and it's an ISO standard, the International Standardization Organization. And here as a second example from the libraries, the Dublin Code, which is again an ISO standard. Nevertheless, paradata, as we understand in the study, are the technical specifications of what? Of that particular time when we scan, when we try to do what? To copy in a digital form a part of the past, of the knowledge of the past. And here is the manual of the device, how I digitize the object. I use a camera, I use a laser scanner. Which camera? What the resolution of camera? At what time of camera? A resolution of 1 megapixel or of 50 megapixel camera, yeah? Device in use, under which conditions, when, where, how, conditions, when, where it was, at what time period. It was windy, it was snowing, it was raining, it was dusty, sandstorm. All these parameters are extremely important. We need to keep them here on the record. Lambusa fishing vessel, metadata, and I'm using here a standard terminology which is well known for the wide now spectrum of our participants to get the message, because today is for you to get the message how important it is, the results of this study, but also to keep a record of the paradata and metadata, the information, to create the knowledge, because we are digitized, yeah? So Having in mind now the Dublin Core and taking into account the Lambusa fishing vessel, yes, there is a title, there is a name, there is a creator, someone who created, who built constructed, produced the boat, subject and keywords. You can see there are different kinds. A short description, the publisher, the boat belongs to the municipality of Limassol, the city, which is hosting the Cyprus University of Technology, and the contributor is, of course, the EUreka3D project, together with other EU projects like the Mnemosini, the ERA chair, and the UNESCO chair at the Cyprus University of Technology. So the year, it's an ancient, it's not ancient, it's an old boat. It's the oldest actually boat here, and there is a lot here to be said, which I will show to you later in few of the images. Now the Lambusa boat, this is what you see here, and that's the momentum when we had or we were invited to have access to the boat, and it's the last still well-preserved boat. You will see it. Now, the EU VIGIE study, and here to the right-hand side, you see the ongoing modeling of the boat after the digitization. If we say complexity, it's a complex digitization. We need to define. Complexity is, ladies and gentlemen, if we say, yeah, it's a complex project. Complexity is who went to digitize this boat or this object? Was a professional or not a professional? Environmental parameters, under which condition, environmental conditions, we did this data acquisition. There's the condition of the boat, of the object. See here, for example, the boat here, yeah? Under which condition we had it, yeah? And the stakeholder requirements, the equipment which has been used, and the pre-processing. Let's see now some of them. Stakeholder requirements. It was the time, UNESCO chair, go digitize, May 2022, October 2023. Budget, of course, municipality has no budget, and the budget which was available was coming from the EU. I put here 0. Propose of the 3D digitization detail level of data acquisition. Why? We didn't have any drawings of that boat. We had to reconstruct, not design, reconstruct the designs. The location, of course, it was outside of the sea, thanks God, and it was a terrestrial, yeah, digitization. And here you see the part of the paradise, the beautiful island of Venus, and this is the place where we are, Limassol. Not so far away, it's more or less less than 1 kilometer from our offices, from the university. Here is the boat in Cyprus, located, currently under renovation at the moment. So the object, state of condition, yeah? Materials, we have different type of materials, and you see them here. Pine, eucalyptus wood, was the deck, ribs, tunnel metal, the propeller, and then the type of the propeller, the engine, different types of materials, but I keep it short. I'm not going down to the detail, and so on and so on. So the dimension, the weight, touchable, yes, we were able to touch it. Permissions, yes, we got all the permissions, but you see here, 25 meters long, 6.6 meter wide. So the project coordinator is the Limassol municipality. Actually, we are in brackets a subcontractor to the municipality, and via the EUreka3D. IPR deliverables, yes, we had an accuracy of 1 centimeter IPR, no IPR so far as education, so far as research, so far as innovation concerned. The formats, the standard formats, as we know them, standards, I mean ISO, international, standardization, organization, transportation, no problem. You see, it's a terrestrial one, not even 1 kilometer far away from here. We can take our equipment and we go. It's not on the underground of the sea. It's not in a cave where we need special uniforms, special equipment to transfer our equipment. Accessibility, yes, you know, it was in a space, so working hours. We cannot go in there and say, oh, okay, I want to work today 12 hours. No, no way. And the budget, as I mentioned to you, in brackets, 0. So now, if we go to the team, we have 2 different categories, the professionals and the amateurs. Okay, the experience, yes, we win, experienced persons. User qualification to use the hardware and the software, yes, in place. We had all the licenses, we had all the people there, fully experienced and in place and so on. Infrastructure, uniforms, of course, transportation for the object and or the team to the special location, of course, no problem. So seeing that, you start calculating what the complexity of the data acquisition. Yeah, environment, and for the UAV, we had 2 scannings, one using UAV photogrammetry, and one, of course, using terrestrial laser scanners. So the data of data acquisition using UAV photogrammetry, you see here from the 9th to the 13th of January of 23 this year. And then it was raining, snowing, visibility, wind speed, air pressure, humidity, temperature, air pollution. You know, sometimes, even in the paradise, there is a rain, there is snow. Even in the paradise, sometimes the visibility is not the best, or the air pressure, and so on, or the temperature. And it was January. And in Cyprus, if we say it's cold, there are temperatures below 20 plus degrees. And you see here now, from the meteorological station, not so far away from the object, we got this data here that you see. It was a very, very low raining day on that time, so that we kept the 0.0 and not 2 or 3, let's say, bits after the comma. So the environmental conditions, the air pollution, extremely important if you use laser scanners, data acquisition devices. Here, free open access to these data sources, to these data stations. We downloaded on this time also the meteorological as well as the environmental data. With that, why? Because you prove that you did a data acquisition under certain conditions, under very good conditions. And that's going to show or illustrate to you later the results so far as quality concerned. It's a reflection, it's a mathematical equation which it has. This quality can be achieved under this complexity in place during the data acquisition. The environment, terrestrial laser scanning now, the same as previously, and so on and so on. The software and the hardware which has been used, yes, we knew we wanted to have the best out of the best, and that's the reason why we use one of the best laser scanners in the world, the ZNF latest technology laser scanners, but also UAVs. So now the boat. Here is the boat in the point cloud, using 2 different types of data, and the boat is going to travel using the cloud, and all this what our coordinator explained to you earlier during the introductory presentation, to Europeana. So Europeana, the digital library of Europe. And now some paradata, technical specifications about the UAV that it has been used, and of course of the camera, hand camera, the laser scanner, and the boat is under construction, yeah? Is under, not construction, sorry, conservation. So using one of the best laser scanners in the world. The technical specifications, you see here all the parameters which we kept in memory, we stored. Then here, the software which has been used for the reconstruction, because here is reverse engineering that we do. And all this, what you see here, is kept. Different laser positions, of course, just a part of that to keep the presentation ready. And you see here now how it was the existing stern structure in this condition, this condition, which is extremely important to keep all this information as a record, The renovation work, and of course now we come to the pre-processing. We discussed that already. Going out existing format standards, benchmark methodologies, and guidelines which have been used. We say here is the Mnemosini, Mnemosini methodology. We keep, we bring all together, we link together, paradata, metadata, and so on. Then the type, only standards, nothing without standardized formats. Is a movable, yes, the board is movable, but it's also immovable. Purpose, detail level for research, preservation, reconstruction, general visualization. The users, all actually. Status is currently under development. The scope is for local, regional, and international reasons to be used. And the website to be available soon under Europeana, the object, the location currently in the place that I shared to you earlier. Relevance is standardized methodology used locally. Now, all these, the standards which we use for the immovable object, movable, immovable object, and of course, the date, May 2022, we received, the mayor is on the center here with the sun classes who invited us to see for the first time the boat and tell to him, yes, we can, or yes, it's not possible, or no, it's not possible. With a colleague here with whom we work together, and of course the chief engineer of the municipality. So, and here I would like to share with you a couple of these so far as quality concern. And now, please imagine that you are the engineer to use and reuse this knowledge. And here is where we are. Free from surfaces, the most complicated surfaces that someone can create. And here is a part of the complexity in the NTUA form, non-national uniform splines. So then here are the different other stages in different forms. And again, here, the quality in geometry, the quality in image, the quality so far as the material that we managed to acquire. And then, of course, the structural health monitoring. And here is the 2D. Yes, we wanted, we say detailed digitization. So everything. Then, of course, the 3D, the texture. And then the terrestrial laser scanning, view of the stern, as you see it here. The quality so far as the 2D, 3D, and the texture again. Here, scaling, the 3D model of the boat and the rib structure, view of the stern, and so on, ladies and gentlemen. To the spectral, it was not in, we didn't need that, but the material, it was needed. We had to find out all the materials, and of course, the structural health monitoring, which was just only the state of condition. So this, what it is extremely important here is we wanted to learn what the kind of production material have been used, what kind of production technology has been used on that time to produce this boat, to have it here. And it was then a so-called reverse engineering in place to have all this together. A data set of several gigabytes together if we want to keep all this data the point clouds, the images, the models, and so on. And of course, the terrestrial laser scanning, all this together, yeah, merging the two data sets together. And the 3D model of the boat and the rib structure, if a naval engineer sees that, it will say, yes, indeed, that's what we need. And imagine now the boat that is coming to the education, to the school, and you will see there a few Legos for the kids to play and start learning how to be use a boat, you know, as engineers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And don't forget, it's all about the memory twin is, as we say here and as we believe, not the digital twin. The digital twin is coming from the engineers. It's coming from the car industry. It's coming from the mechanical engineering. We are in the humanities, we are in the social sciences, and we are dealing with memory, with the digitization of the past, to keep a record of that in a high quality for the future generations to come. And of course, to protect, but also for identity reasons. It's all about to prove that this belongs to us, that this is our treasure, that this comes from our fathers. And if we manage that, then Europeana is not going to be the digital library of Europe, it's going to be the Alexandria library of the world, if we manage. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to your questions and remarks.
Thank you very much, Marinos, for your interesting presentation. And also thank you everybody for coming. My name's John Balean from Topfoto. Listening to what you had to say, maybe think of a quote, but I've been using this quote quite a bit for artificial intelligence and manipulation, and it's from 1984, and it's who controls the past controls the future, and who controls the present controls the past. And I feel like we are at a point where we're, as archivists, we have this opportunity to save the past for the future. And how accurately we do that also reflects on how the future will be able to interpret it. I come from a photography background, so going back 25 years when we were starting to the digitization process, we had, I feel like where three-dimensional digitization is now, it is in a sort of starting phase, but we can build on what we learned from all of those things before we had all of those standards. But there were still some advantages when we started photography. You could put a photograph straight on a browser and you could see it and it would work. Whereas now there's 3D viewers and things like that, which the standards for all of those, are we going to end up with a centralized system? Is it going to be just anybody can put bits up on the internet in 3D? Quality standards, metadata standards. The metadata all started from very much translating the analog systems that we had to catalog into a digital form. And now with 3D, as Marinos explained, there's so much more to capture rather than the static image. And of course, that's very important because what you see in one environment might be different in a different environment. And also for the preservation of that, which is very important in terms of this selection process, I guess. This is another thing of, controlling who controls the present, controls the past. We as archivists have the power to edit and select what we digitize and how we digitize it. If we think this part of our collection is not very important, then it might deteriorate and disappear, and we are lost. It is lost from memory. So much of our heritage has been lost, in memory, in living memory. It started to fade from all of those living memories. And once it fades from our living memory, and if it's not been recorded, it's gone. It's disappeared forever. So we have a moment to record in the best detail that we can to save it. And that follows the recommendation from the EU, which is very conscious about the effects of wars and all of the things that we were talking about to save history. And I think this is a very important point in our time where we either get on board, talk the same language, capture as much as we can in the same kind of standards, and present it in the best that we can for future generations. And if we don't do that now, then our future is going to see a distorted or very fragmented view of what we had in the past. So I'm for your questions. I know there's a few questions in the chat. I saw one which was interesting about GCP information, which is important in photogrammetry. Marinos, do you know about GCP, and can you comment on that?
Yes, of course. This very important information is kept. We keep the entire information, not only from the UAV, the different positions where each, let's say, the UAV was flying and capture the different areas of the object, but also the different positions of the different devices used when it has been the process of the data acquisition. All these are subsets of this what I have described now in a very short time period of 20 minutes as paradata. Why we need to record all that? To prove that exactly this what we have at the end as data is of high quality. I cannot say that I have, let's say, high resolution object or an object in 3D with a high resolution of 4K at the moment when I digitize it with a camera of 5 megapixel resolution. That means that the 4K was just only for the visualization, the screen, my TV, whatever, the screen that I'm using in the lab, but not of the data set. And that's extremely important. Keeping these parameters in a record, you can prove I did it on that time period, I did the digitization under these conditions, and under this, by taking also into account all the different other parameters for processing, for modeling, and so on, so that you can certify your results and you can prove, yes, this is an exact copy of the original. We have to do with cultural heritage objects, which is not only if we combine it with the memory part of our story and knowledge, but it has to do also with the authentication. If the object is lost, who is going to prove that this is the original? If, and in case we don't have all this paradata information in place, or even these quality parameters in place, something like materials, yeah? Nice 3D visual objects are good, but it's an outstanding record if we manage to keep all this information together with the data. On the other side, it is extremely, to say something, I am now asking the participants, if and in case one object, a monument, is a part of the World Heritage list, yeah? UNESCO is saying this monument is there listed because it has only something which is unique, something which is valuable. It has an outstanding and universal value. How a computer can now manage to, if we do a data acquisition, to have this knowledge in such a way so that we can say, voila, that's the digital copy, the memory twin of the universal and outstanding value object. How can we say?
Yeah, there's a question about the memory twin in the chat, which is interesting. How do you envisage the representation of intangible heritage data in a digital format? And could you elaborate on the methods and technologies that might be used for this purpose?
In a very simple one way, this is what we do here. The same way as a human can understand it. And if I say, this is my object, this is the remote control of my air conditioning unit here, yes, this is good. This is a device. What a device? A device to be used for remote control. And it's a device having, let's say, 3, 4, 5 buttons. And each one of these buttons has a functionality and all these kind of things. In a hierarchical, taxonomical way, you can bring it together. But there is another one standard in cultural heritage documentation, the only one existing, which is the CITOC CRM, ontology. We need to set up an ontology. The most easiest way is a taxonomical one, yeah? In a taxonomical, a hierarchical taxonomical tree, as we say. This is an object. This object is a movable one. This movable object is located here in Cyprus, in my office. This movable, yeah, and so on and so on. It's not difficult. It's very easy. And then this can be embedded with the 3D together in an easy one way, in the so-called knowledge graph, where the object, we can say it has a 3D structure. This 3D structure has an interior, also as exterior. In the interior, there is whatever the electrical circuit, and so on.
Yeah, I'd like to say that we were going to add those graphs and the explanations, the VIGIE study, all of those links are on the EUreka3D website, you know, as resources to be able to sort of understand the processes behind, because there's a lot of workflow as well as in the standards, as well as the metadata itself. There's one, we've only got a couple of minutes to go, but there's a good question about really the future of 3D. Well, why are we really digitizing these things in 3D with the quality? And there's a question, is there an intention for the municipality or somebody else to reconstruct the boat? I mean, I presume with the level of detail that you've got with the boat, maybe in 200 years' time when the boat itself doesn't exist, somebody could rebuild it from the data you've got even.
Actually, for all the participants coming from outside of Europe, it's an important information. Actually, these vessels with an EU directive have to be removed, yeah, once forever, to be destroyed and removed. And this is the only one existing on the island of Cyprus. And the municipality, in a special agreement with the authorities here, managed to get the get the permission to preserve the oldest vessel. And it's good to see, just if you see the motor, which I haven't presented that here, but it's going to come very soon, probably next year sometime. in a different time period and presentation. The knowledge of a motor, of a boat, of a vessel, of a fisher boat, which is amazing. It doesn't exist anymore. You cannot find anymore this kind of motors. But even the way of how the fishermen on that time, 80 years ago, they went out and for fishing, it's extremely important. And this is what we want now to do with the boat for the use and reuse, is to, because we reconstructed that, to create the Lego again for the kids. And now, depending if you are a kid in the elementary school or in gymnasium or in Lyceum, or if you are whatever, a naval engineer, you can play with it. And you can have it in 5 parts, 50 parts, 5,000 parts. And then, yeah, enjoy how to reconstruct it together, build it together.
And there's a question about file sizes, the simplicity of basically the file sizes and probably presenting this 3D data. And I've talked about viewers, and we've had quite a few discussions about who's going to hold the repository of 3D. You know, we don't want it to be just all stuck on Sketchfab and a global. We want a kind of repository for cultural heritage, really.
Yes, and this is what Europe now is doing. Europe is moving in the digital era to set up the system. That's the data space. That's the cloud on cultural heritage. And there is where the 27 member states at least are coming together. And it's going to be a place on the cloud. Everything is moving to the cloud for the data, as well as the paradata and the metadata. And the first attempt for that is here through this unique project, the EUreka3D. And this is what is happening. And we are going to present the results next year, Antonella. The first results are going to be presented in 1 month from now in Brussels, at the headquarters of Europe, at the capital city of the European Union.
If I can sneak one more question maybe before we go, which is basically digitization cannot replace the personal impression. And I guess that's the feeling of, like, if you're there with the boat in front of you, the impact is so much different from a 3D. And that's sort of a difference than photography maybe, whereas you might have an image and you can put that on a screen, and you don't lose quite so much as an object.
Yes, Alexandra is absolutely correct. No, real is real, digital is digital. And that's how it's going to be also in the future. But if we don't have the digital version, we will forget how the real one time ago it was. Imagine a photo. A photo, you didn't digitize it. It has been destroyed over the time because of lighting, because of humidity. The content is gone. The one photo, 1,000 words are gone. You don't have it. Then what are you doing? So at least a digital copy. It's
saving as much as you can.
A little bit for the memory. It's helping a little bit for the memory. We don't have the original papyrus of all the manuscripts written in the past of Aristotle, yeah, of Homer, and so on. But we still have the story because it has been copied so many times, multiplied, used and reused, yeah, so many times. And that's the reason why we have it. So therefore, we need to create so many digital copies as possible. But the digital copies have to be of a high accuracy, high quality, and authentic. Otherwise, there is no sense to do that.
Okay, thank you, Marinos. So we've run out of time. And I thank everybody for joining our webinar today. And to our hosts, and a reminder that you can find lots of information on EUreka3D, as well as the ICA website, and that's in the chat, and all of this recorded and everything else will be available to you to look after this. So thank you. Do you want to say anything, Antonella, or anybody else, or we leave?
Yes, and we invite you we thank everybody who attended the seminar for your attention. We are very happy to have had the opportunity to share with you our thoughts, and we invite you to attend to the third seminar that is our the last event of the program for this year. More seminars will come next year.